The first sight of it made the alien fleet pause in orbit. Not in fear of our weapons, not in awe of our fleets, but in disbelief. The Terracon species, 9 apex predators of the Zorathian system, towered on 4 muscular limbs, scales reflecting starlight like obsidian mirrors, teeth glinting sharper than any alloy forged by the hegemony. Every intelligence in the galaxy had warned against approaching them. Even the bravest xenozoologists had perished attempting observation. They were lethal, uncontrollable, and feared across 1,000 light-years. And yet, as the Terracon lounged across the human settlement's central plateau, tails flicking lazily, their eyes followed human children skipping between them, and the aliens hesitated. The first encounter had been accidental. Humans had discovered the Terracon nesting grounds while scouting a newly terraformed planet on the fringe of Hyrith space. The invaders, the Shralkree, had already surveyed the system and were preparing to claim it, expecting resistance only from automated defense systems. Instead, they found humans moving among the predators as if they were domesticated dogs, their behavior calm, measured, and utterly fearless. One human reached out to touch the crest of a massive predator, the Terracon lowering its head in acknowledgement. The aliens could not comprehend what they saw. Instinct, danger, and apex lethality had never been subverted so completely. Humans had approached cautiously. Where others would have erected barriers or containment fields, we had observed. We had learned their habits, hunting cycles, mating rituals, communication methods, and the subtle nuances of posture, vibration, and scent that dictated dominance. Unlike the invaders, humans did not attempt to dominate through brute force. We mimicked, we mirrored, and we rewarded compliance. The Terracon responded to trust and respect. By the third cycle of observation, humans were not only walking among them, they were training them, guiding them, even riding them across the open plains during early tests of control. The Shralkree fleet hung above, unmoving. Their ships were built to strike fear into entire systems, armed with weapons designed to annihilate planets, yet none dared act. Reports flooded their command centers. Humans had lured the predators into formations that could have crushed their advanced mechanized units in moments, yet did so with a casual grace, teaching the apex predators obedience and cooperation instead of provoking aggression. Each display was a message the aliens could not ignore. Humanity did not fight the Terracon. They commanded them. The humans did not just domesticate the predators, they integrated them into society. Terracon ran alongside children in the training fields, their massive claws carefully restrained with bioharnesses that redirected strength without suppressing instinct. Hunters rode them to scout the perimeter, their movements synchronized with the humans' gestures. The aliens observed as predators once untouchable were now responsive to subtle cues, a nod, a whistle, a pressure on the harness. Entire packs that had terrorized the local ecosystem were now performing complex, coordinated behaviors, protecting human settlements rather than threatening them. It was not fear that moved the aliens. It was disbelief and then unease. Across their communications networks, warnings were issued. The humans have done what no species could. They have overridden apex instinct with intelligence. Commanders argued. They must be bluffing. This is some coordinated trap. Their weapons fleet, unprepared. But reports showed the humans standing in the open among fully grown Terracon, gesturing with calm authority, smiling faintly as the predators followed their commands without hesitation. On the ground, the humans demonstrated simple commands first. Follow, stay, approach. Then advanced sequences, flank, protect, encircle. Terracon responded instantly, adapting to human gestures, scanning the terrain, and even predicting threats before they emerged. Where the Shralkree had relied on shields and plasma weapons, humans relied on observation, pattern recognition, and trust, principles the aliens had never respected because they feared the uncontrollable. Humans had taught the uncontrollable to obey, and in doing so, turned fear itself into a weapon. The council aboard the lead Shralkree dreadnought convened. Analysts reported human interaction logs captured from reconnaissance satellites. Apex predators behaving in ways previously deemed impossible, responding to human cues, anticipating danger, and following orders with precision. The fleet commanders' tentacles trembled. We underestimated them. Not their fleets. Not their weapons. Their capacity to dominate life itself is unprecedented. The words trailed into silence. The humans had not fired a single shot. No shields flared, no warheads detonated. Yet the Terracon alone, their most feared weapon in the galaxy, stood ready, obedient, and entirely aligned with human authority. And in that quiet mastery of instinct, in the way apex predators bent to human will without losing their power or grace, the Shralkree realized something no intelligence report could quantify. War against humans was no longer about fleets or weapons. It was about confronting a species that commanded the galaxy's deadliest forces without aggression, without fear, and without hesitation. The first message came through the Shralkree comms, a formal surrender request, broadcast across subspace. The humans did not celebrate. They watched the Terracon patrol the settlement, ears flicking, tails swaying, as if acknowledging victory was not theirs alone. The aliens' fear was tangible. Humanity had not only survived contact with the apex predators, they had rewritten the rules of dominance in the galaxy. And no species, no fleet, no weapon could ignore the implications. The surrender came not with fanfare, nor with trembling capitulation, but with silence. Across the void, the Shralkree fleet powered down weapons, their ships drifting in orbit as though their presence alone had been rendered irrelevant. The human settlement below continued as if nothing had changed. Children played among the Terracon, their laughter echoing across the plains, and the apex predators obeyed every subtle command with instinctive precision. Observation drones hovered harmlessly, scanning, recording, and yet failing to capture the full measure of what had occurred. The invaders had not been defeated by force. They had been defeated by understanding, by adaptability, and by the audacity of humanity to master what the galaxy feared most. I walked alongside the Terracon trainers as they prepared the predators for the next sequence. Each movement was deliberate, a choreography of trust and command. The aliens had labeled these creatures uncontrollable weapons, instruments of mass destruction, and yet humans had learned their language. Subtle shifts in weight, the tiniest tilt of a head, the flick of a tail. No harness could have forced this obedience. No threat could have commanded this respect. The humans had unlocked a harmony that no other species had ever imagined possible. I watched as one massive predator knelt to allow a child to mount its back, tail curling gently around her waist. The Shralkree fleet above did not flinch, but I could sense their minds recalculating, their strategies unraveling under the sheer audacity of what they were witnessing. Orders came from the human command center. We were to demonstrate a defensive formation using the Terracon. The predators moved with elegant coordination, encircling the settlement in arcs and wedges, their senses hyper-attuned to environmental stimuli. A single gesture from a trainer caused 3 predators to shift position, anticipating a threat that had not yet appeared. The aliens, who had spent millennia designing fleets and weapons to dominate, could not comprehend the efficiency of instinct channeled through intelligence. It was not brute strength that terrified them. It was control over the uncontrollable, a force that could adapt, predict, and respond faster than any mechanical system. From orbit, the Shralkree commanders observed the demonstration through live feeds. One of their analysts whispered, "They are communicating with them. Not through tech, not through programming, through understanding." Others nodded, though their alien physiology did not allow gestures of approval, only wide-eyed disbelief. The humans had not broken the apex predator's nature. They had honored it. They had transformed fearsome independence into disciplined power, a tool that no weapon could replicate. The fleet's morale faltered as the realization spread. The humans had rendered their most feared assets, biological, lethal, and untouchable, into instruments of submission and strategy. The humans then escalated the demonstration. Predators were instructed to simulate a full-scale invasion response. They moved with terrifying grace, flanking, scouting, and containing mock threats. Their claws barely touched the terrain, yet each step created seismic vibrations that could destabilize armored vehicles. Humans guided them through commands subtle as a whisper, gestures so minimal they might have been mistaken for casual movement. The aliens watched in horror as what they had thought were uncontrollable predators executed tactics that no military strategist in the galaxy could have designed. Humanity had turned instinct into doctrine, unpredictability into method, and raw power into precise defense. The psychological impact on the Shral Kree was immediate. Strategists argued, commanders hesitated, and subordinates feared the consequences of any order. The apex predators they had spent centuries studying as instruments of terror were no longer wild. They were trained, intelligent, and lethal under human guidance. Every calculation the invaders had made about superiority, advantage, and intimidation now appeared absurd. Their war doctrines crumbled in orbit, not from attack, but from revelation. Humans did not need fleets or weapons to dominate. They needed understanding, courage, and the audacity to engage what others fled from. By nightfall, the humans allowed the Terracon to rest, clustered in controlled zones around the settlement. Fires from human encampments cast long shadows across their scaled forms. The aliens watched silently, a fleet of warships now impotent in the face of human mastery over life itself. The council aboard the lead dreadnought conferred in tense silence. One elder's voice trembled, translated imperfectly across subspace. They are not just fearless. They are architects of dominance in ways we cannot anticipate. Their enemies, every species, must reconsider our calculations. Humans, as always, seemed oblivious to the fear they inspired. We moved through the settlement, tending to the predators, monitoring their behavior, and teaching them refinement rather than enforcement. We had not conquered them by aggression, nor had we bent them by coercion. We had engaged with them, learned from them, and earned their compliance. And in doing so, the galaxy's most feared apex predators had become humanity's allies, proof that humans did not just survive chaos, they commanded it. Above, the Shral Kree fleet lowered shields, signaling surrender. Below, the Terracon shifted slightly, acknowledging the humans' authority. And I understood, as did the aliens, that the war was over, not because of firepower, not because of intimidation, but because humanity had proven a truth that no civilization could contest. The fearless, adaptive species could master anything, even the things the galaxy feared most. The surrender message had barely faded from subspace when the humans began the next phase: integration. The Shral Kree fleet, once poised for conquest, drifted idle in orbit, their sensors now filled with confusion, fascination, and fear. Human trainers moved freely among the apex predators, issuing commands with subtle gestures, soft tones, and an intuitive understanding that no alien species could replicate. What the invaders had considered chaos, the wild, untamable ferocity of Terracon, had been converted into a disciplined extension of human will. And the Council, observing from orbit, began to grasp the magnitude of what had happened. We began by demonstrating cooperative operations. Terracon were guided to transport heavy supplies, patrol perimeters, and scout the terrain for environmental hazards. Each movement was precise, synchronized, and instinctively defensive. Where alien fleets relied on computation, algorithms, and brute force, humans relied on pattern recognition, intuition, and trust. A single trainer could redirect a pack of 20 apex predators with a gesture so slight it would have gone unnoticed by any other species. The aliens watched in disbelief as predators once feared as planetary-level threats now obeyed human authority, their lethal instincts harnessed for protection instead of destruction. In one display, a squad of human engineers used the Terracon to erect a defensive perimeter around the settlement. The apex predators moved as if aware of each other's position, filling gaps, anticipating potential breaches, and correcting for terrain hazards without verbal instruction. The aliens could only record the data and speculate, their own military doctrines rendered irrelevant by a species that commanded instinct itself. A single predator adjusted its position based on the flick of a human wrist, then corrected another's trajectory with a low, resonant growl, demonstrating a level of coordination that had previously been deemed impossible for non-sapient species. The psychological impact on the Shrall-Cree was immediate. Strategists aboard the dreadnought fretted, analysts argued, and commanders reconsidered their assumptions about human capability. One officer, tentacles trembling, murmured into the console, "They are architects of instinct. They manipulate forces no weapons could replicate." Across the fleet, the mood shifted from tactical analysis to dread. The humans had weaponized understanding itself, the ability to command life that even the galaxy's most advanced species feared. And in that realization, the invaders understood that they had surrendered not to fleets or firepower, but to mastery of nature itself. Humans continued to expand their integration. Children were permitted to interact with smaller Terracon, learning early lessons of trust, communication, and coordinated behavior. The apex predators adapted quickly, adjusting to human unpredictability while maintaining their raw strength. The aliens observed a predator allowing a child to ride along its back while scanning the horizon, a predator that could crush armored vehicles effortlessly, now following nuanced human instructions. Fear and fascination intertwined across the Shrall-Cree fleet. These were not pets, not tools, but allies forged through respect and understanding. The humans then initiated controlled demonstrations of combat applications. Terracon were guided to simulate defensive scenarios against hypothetical intruders. Predators executed flanking maneuvers, predictive interception, and protective encirclements, all while responding to minimal cues from their human handlers. The aliens' instruments recorded movements that would have taken entire military divisions to replicate, yet here it was executed flawlessly by a combination of instinct and improvisation. The humans had not merely tamed the predators, they had elevated them, synchronized human intellect with apex physicality, creating a force no conventional army could hope to challenge. As the day progressed, the council aboard the lead dreadnought began to realize the profound implications. Humans had done what no other species could. They had taken the galaxy's most feared creatures and turned them into cooperative partners. Where others relied on domination, humans relied on insight. Where others feared unpredictability, humans embraced it, converting instinct into strategy. The Terracon, once considered a weapon of mass destruction, had become a symbol of human adaptability, courage, and intelligence. By the day's end, the settlement had transformed into a display of controlled power. Terracon patrolled, humans trained, and alien observers recorded in awe. The Shrall-Cree fleet, still idling in orbit, sent hesitant communications acknowledging the surrender formally. And yet the humans did not celebrate. They continued their work quietly, aware that domination over the apex predators was not an act of conquest, but of understanding, a lesson that the galaxy itself had yet to learn. In the final moments of observation, I watched a young trainer stand before a massive Terracon, whispering commands and adjusting posture with imperceptible gestures. The predator obeyed without hesitation, scanning the horizon, anticipating potential threats, yet remaining calm. From orbit, the aliens could only witness, powerless, as humans demonstrated a truth more profound than any weapon. Fear could be transformed into loyalty, chaos into control, and apex predators into allies. And in that mastery, the galaxy glimpsed a force that no fleet, no strategy, and no weapon could ever contain. By the fourth day, the Shrall-Cree fleet had become spectators rather than conquerors. They hovered silently in orbit, unable to reconcile their doctrine with the reality below. Humans walking, riding, and directing apex predators with an authority that needed no weapons. The Terracon now moved in intricate formations, responding to subtle hand gestures, soft vocal cues, and even shifts in human posture. It was not mere obedience, it was cooperation born from mutual recognition. The aliens could not understand it. No species in the galaxy had ever converted instinct into a coordinated force without breaking it entirely. Humans had done both. The settlement's central plains became a proving ground. Predators were paired with humans to patrol borders, guard critical resources, and perform scouting missions. Each Terracon reacted to threats not because it was trained to fear them, but because it understood the humans' expectations. A single predator could cover miles of terrain in minutes, anticipate ambush points, and communicate with other predators through subtle signals, a network of instinctive coordination that humans guided with astonishing precision. The alien sensors detected the patterns, but they could not quantify them. The humans had achieved a synthesis of intellect and raw power that defied calculation. In one demonstration, a pack of 10 Terracon formed a perimeter while humans moved between them. The predators adjusted constantly, closing gaps, redirecting energy, and responding to simulated threats with uncanny efficiency. One human gestured, and the apex predators executed a series of complex maneuvers, separating, converging, and creating protective arcs around critical positions. Alien analysts tried to record, replicate, and predict these movements, but every attempt failed. The human's mastery was adaptive, improvisational, and instinctively intelligent, a level of control that no hegemony algorithm could simulate. The psychological impact on the Shralkree was growing unbearable. Fleet commanders convened in hushed urgency, debating strategies and contingencies that no longer mattered. They are not merely taming the predators, they are enhancing them, one officer muttered, tentacles twitching nervously. Every movement, every response is calculated and adaptive. We cannot fight against this. Others whispered of surrender as the only viable path. No weapons array, no numbers, no technology could overcome the synthesis of human intuition and apex predator instinct. The invaders' arrogance had blinded them to what humans could do. Humans were not content with static demonstrations. They pushed boundaries, teaching the Terracon to coordinate complex tasks, transporting supplies across treacherous terrain, responding to multiple simultaneous stimuli, and even performing synchronized maneuvers that would have overwhelmed any alien observer. One predator, normally aggressive and solitary, responded to subtle body language cues from multiple humans, adapting to changes in position, anticipating potential hazards, and signaling others to adjust their approach. The aliens watched, horrified, as behavior once thought impossible became routine under human guidance. A human child stepped onto a massive Terracon, guiding it across a rocky ridge. The predator's claws barely made a sound as it navigated treacherous footing, responding instantly to shifts in balance and posture. From orbit, the Shralkree fleet monitored the transmission, calculating the impossibility of it, a single human influencing a predator capable of leveling a city block. They had surrendered, and yet each demonstration deepened their dread. Humanity had not only proven control, it had demonstrated a potential no one had expected, apex predators as extensions of human strategy. By the evening, humans allowed the Terracon to rest, clustered around safe zones. The predators exhaled, massive lungs misting in the cool air, but their alertness remained. Humans moved among them, checking harnesses, adjusting feeding schedules, and maintaining bonds of trust. The aliens, observing from above, recognized a terrifying truth. Humans had created a network of lethal allies, obedient yet powerful, adaptive yet loyal, a force that could not be contained by conventional warfare. The council aboard the lead dreadnought convened in silence. Every report confirmed the same pattern. Humans had achieved dominance not through fear, weapons, or aggression, but through understanding, observation, and instinctive coordination. One elder, trembling, finally voiced what all feared. "We have fought wars for millennia, yet we have never seen control like this. They have weaponized life itself, and life answers to them." Humans did not celebrate. They trained, refined, and taught, ever aware that power, without understanding, was meaningless. And the apex predators, creatures the galaxy had worshipped as unstoppable, now moved in perfect harmony with the human's will. The Shralkree understood, finally, why surrender had been inevitable. They had not faced an army, a fleet, or weapons. They had faced a species capable of commanding the deadliest forces in the galaxy without firing a single shot. As the sun set over the plains, the Terracon shifted in their sleep, tails flicking, ears twitching, yet ever attentive. The humans moved among them quietly, guardians and guides. And I realized something profound. The galaxy had never encountered a species like this. Humans did not merely survive. Humans mastered. And mastery, in the hands of the fearless and adaptive, was the deadliest force of all. By the fifth day, the Shralkree fleet had descended into a tense, almost reverent silence. No orders were given, no weapons activated. Their analysts and commanders stared at the transmissions from the human settlement below, struggling to reconcile centuries of doctrine with the impossible reality before them. Humans moved freely among the apex predators, Terracon, Sverok, and other previously untamable species, coordinating them with subtle gestures, soft tones, and an instinctive understanding that defied every alien protocol. Where fleets and plasma arrays had failed, the humans had succeeded with nothing but audacity and observation. The humans were preparing the final demonstration, one that would solidify the Shralkree surrender into absolute certainty. Terracon packs were arranged in sweeping formations across the plateau, their movements synchronized perfectly, their instincts guided, yet never suppressed. Smaller predators flanked human scouts, larger apexes patrolled the perimeter, and specialized hunters adapted to simulated threats with astonishing speed. Every alien sensor confirmed the impossible. The humans were commanding a lethal, mobile force greater than anything the galaxy had ever seen, without firing a single shot. A single human, barely more than a teenager, stood at the center of the formation, arms raised subtly. Massive predators shifted at her slightest motion, weaving through terrain and each other with precision. A low growl rippled across the pack, responding to a soft command, yet their power remained unchecked, raw, and awe-inspiring. Above, the Shralkree fleet's dreadnoughts shuddered, not from attack, but from comprehension. These were weapons of planet-level destruction, apex predators that had terrorized entire systems, now aligned perfectly with the humans' will. The invaders had no counter. They could not fight this force. They could not intimidate it. They could not predict it. The human command was deliberate, measured, and almost imperceptible. Yet every predator responded instantly, executing complex maneuvers that required spatial awareness, timing, and cooperation across dozens of enormous, independent minds. The aliens' communications networks buzzed with panic. "Impossible," one officer whispered. "They have taken what we feared most and turned it into a weapon beyond calculation." Another voice added, "This is not control. This is dominance without aggression. We cannot resist it." And in that moment, the Shralkree comprehended the scale of their mistake. Humanity had weaponized life itself, and life answered only to us. The final sequence began. Humans orchestrated a defensive demonstration. Predators moved as a single, cohesive entity, flanking simulated invaders, intercepting threats, and neutralizing danger with perfect coordination. Predators acted independently, yet remained in constant alignment with human intent. One apex beast adjusted its path to block an obstacle another had not yet perceived. Another anticipated a threat and signaled a secondary predator to intercept. The humans orchestrated it all with imperceptible gestures, slight shifts in posture, and whispered commands. The aliens, watching through every sensor, realized they were witnessing an intelligence far beyond their predictive algorithms. A council aboard the lead dreadnought finally spoke. The words were hesitant, trembling, almost in disbelief. They are not just taming the predators. They are architects of instinct, weaving life itself into strategy. Every calculation, every tactic, every weapon we have ever deployed is now obsolete in the presence of their understanding. Around them, subordinates nodded silently, some in fear, others in resignation. The fleet had surrendered days before, yet the demonstration revealed the full magnitude. Humanity was not merely victorious, it was untouchable. The humans did not celebrate. They continued moving among the apex predators, checking harnesses, adjusting formations, and ensuring coordination remained flawless. Children played alongside massive Terracon, riding on their backs, while trainers corrected posture and reinforced commands. It was a display of mastery so subtle that the aliens could not measure it, and so absolute that no one dared challenge it. The battlefield had become a stage of silent authority. Humans had conquered without fighting, tamed without oppression, and controlled without cruelty. And then it happened. One of the largest Terracon, a beast whose size alone could have leveled a city, shifted its attention toward the sky. Its eyes glowed faintly, reflecting starlight, and its body began to resonate with low-frequency pulses. Humans gathered around, responding with gestures, harmonizing with the predator's energy. The entire formation vibrated in synchrony, an immense, living network of apex instinct aligned with human intelligence. Above, the Shralkri fleet recoiled. Instruments overloaded, readings became incomprehensible, and every officer realized the terrifying truth. Humans had awakened a force no one could contain. The final message from orbit was not a surrender. It was a plea for understanding, for terms, for mercy. The humans answered with calm authority, adjusting predator formations and maintaining harmony. But deep in the shadows of the largest predator, something stirred, a resonance older than any Terracon known to the galaxy, responding to humans in a way that no one had anticipated. Its pulse was subtle, yet profound, a warning, a promise, and a question all at once. Humanity had not only tamed apex predators, we had awakened something far greater. And the galaxy, even the Shralkri, could feel it waiting, watching, and preparing to move. The humans looked at each other, confident, unafraid, and unaware of the enormity of what had begun. The apex predators remained obedient, yet charged with latent power. The Shralkri fleet, silent and powerless, hovered above. And somewhere within the deepest resonance of the largest predator, the first stirrings of something ancient and unimaginable began to awaken, its focus fixed entirely on humanity. The next chapter of the galaxy was about to begin, and nothing would ever be the same.